Have you ever felt a strange heaviness in your chest, as if something unseen is tugging at your very essence? I remember the day it all clicked for me, a moment when everything I thought I knew about my soul was turned upside down. Picture this. I was scrolling through my feeds, lost in the noise of everyday life, when a single phrase stopped me cold. It felt like a whisper from the universe, beckoning me to pay attention. What if I told you that certain signs could signal that your soul is in danger? Imagine waking up one morning, staring at your reflection, and realizing that the person looking back at you is not who you thought you were. What would you do? Would you ignore it? Or would you dig deeper into the shadows of your psyche? As I delved into the teachings of Jung, I unearthed startling truths that resonated deeply within me. Signs that I had brushed aside suddenly took on new meaning. Have you noticed any of these in your own life? The urgency is real, and the stakes are higher than we often realize. Stay with me as we unravel this profound message together. Subscribe to the channel now and uncover the mysteries of spirituality with Carl Jung. Disconnection from the inner self. Lately, I've been feeling a strange sense of disconnection from myself. It's like I'm watching my life unfold from a distance, almost as if I'm a mere spectator in my own story. I catch myself going through the motions, but deep down, there's a nagging feeling that I'm not really present. It's a bit unsettling, to be honest. I used to have a strong sense of who I was, but now it seems like I'm wearing a mask that doesn't quite fit. The things that once brought me joy and fulfillment now feel distant, like fading echoes of a life I used to know. I often find myself questioning my choices, wondering if they truly reflect who I am or if I'm just following a script written by someone else. This disconnect is insidious. It creeps in slowly, often disguised as everyday stress or the demands of life. I notice that I struggle to connect with my emotions, often feeling numb or indifferent. It's as if I've built a wall around my true self, shielding it from the chaos of the outside world. But in doing so, I've isolated myself from my essence. Reflecting on this, I realize that the signs were there all along. Moments of self-doubt have crept in, leaving me questioning my identity and purpose. I've started to recognize that this disconnection doesn't only affect my mental state. It seeps into my relationships, my work, and even my hobbies. What used to ignite my passion now feels like an obligation, and I can't help but wonder if I'm losing touch with the person I was meant to be. What's even more troubling is that this sense of disconnection often leads me to seek validation from external sources. I find myself scrolling through social media, comparing my life to the highlight reels of others, and it only deepens my sense of inadequacy. I know I shouldn't be doing this. It's a futile attempt to reconnect with something I've lost. Yet, in those moments, it feels like the only option. I'm left feeling even more disconnected, trapped in a cycle of wanting to feel something real while being unable to reach out for it. I can't help but wonder if others feel this way too. It's a lonely experience, and I sometimes feel like I'm shouting into the void. The disconnection from my inner self is not just a personal struggle. It seems to be a collective issue in our fast-paced, digitally driven world. I yearn for the days when I felt grounded, authentic, and in tune with myself. Maybe acknowledging this disconnection is the first step toward reconnecting with who I truly am. Persistent feelings of anxiety and hopelessness. Anxiety has become a familiar companion, lurking in the shadows of my mind. It's as if there's a constant hum of worry that I can't quite shake off. Some days, it feels manageable, like a gentle reminder to stay alert. Other days, though, it crashes over me like a tidal wave, pulling me under and leaving me gasping for air. This relentless presence of negative emotions can be exhausting, and I find myself wondering if I'll ever be free from this internal turmoil. There are moments when I feel utterly hopeless, as if there's a dark cloud hanging over me that I can't escape. I have tried to pinpoint the source of these feelings, but they often seem to arise without warning. It's disheartening to think that my mind can turn against me, creating a reality filled with doubt and despair. I know I should reach out for help or at least talk to someone about it, but even the thought of doing so feels overwhelming. These feelings of anxiety and hopelessness often manifest in my daily life, affecting my relationships and my ability to enjoy simple pleasures. I notice that I withdraw from friends and family, believing they wouldn't understand the depths of my struggles. When I do engage, I find myself putting on a brave face, hiding the chaos beneath the surface. It's exhausting to maintain this facade, and I'm left feeling even more isolated and misunderstood. Sometimes I wonder if this is just a phase or if it's something deeper rooted within me. I try to remind myself that it's okay to feel this way, but the weight of anxiety can be suffocating. The fear of the future, of not living up to my potential, often gnaws at me. It's a relentless cycle of worry, and I'm left searching for a glimmer of hope that things can get better. I'm beginning to realize that acknowledging these feelings is an important step in my journey. Perhaps by confronting my anxiety and hopelessness, I can start to understand them better. I know I need to find healthier coping mechanisms instead of escaping into distractions. It's a daunting task, but I believe it's necessary for my growth and healing. Escape from reality in the midst of this internal chaos, I found myself retreating into distractions more than ever. It's almost as if I'm seeking refuge in the noise of social media, binge-watching shows, or even pouring myself a drink at the end of a long day. These escapes offer a temporary relief, a brief respite from the relentless tide of my emotions. Yet, I can't shake the nagging feeling that I'm only delaying the inevitable confrontation with my reality. The allure of these distractions is strong. They provide an easy way to silence the thoughts that keep me up at night. I scroll endlessly through my feed, getting lost in the curated lives of others, momentarily forgetting my own struggles. But as soon as I step away from the screen, the weight of my feelings comes rushing back. It's a fleeting escape that leaves me feeling emptier than before, as if I'm chasing a high that never truly satisfies. I've started to recognize the patterns in my behavior. On particularly tough days, I find myself gravitating toward these distractions more intensely. It's as if I'm trying to drown out the noise of my own thoughts, but in doing so, I'm only amplifying my disconnection from reality. I know that facing my emotions head-on is crucial, yet the fear of that confrontation often holds me back. Instead, I choose the easier route, convincing myself that it's just a phase or a way to unwind. The irony is not lost on me. In my quest to escape, I'm actually creating a larger chasm between who I am and who I want to be. I've become so accustomed to this cycle that it's hard to imagine breaking free. I know I need to find healthier ways to cope, perhaps through mindfulness, art, or connecting with loved ones. I just haven't quite figured out how to take that first step yet. As I reflect on this pattern, I can't help but feel a sense of urgency. I want to reclaim my life, to break free from the chains of distraction that bind me. It's a daunting task, but I know deep down that I owe it to myself to confront my reality rather than run from it. Perhaps by embracing my true feelings, I can begin to heal and rediscover the joy that has been overshadowed by my need to escape. Lack of purpose or direction. I remember a time when I felt completely adrift, like a boat without a rudder. It wasn't that I didn't have goals, I had plenty, but they felt more like obligations than true aspirations. I would wake up each day and go through the motions, but deep down, there was this nagging feeling that something was missing. It was as if I was following a script written by someone else, and I had lost the ability to write my own lines. The more I tried to figure it out, the more tangled my thoughts became. Every now and then, I'd catch myself staring blankly at my reflection in the mirror, asking, what am I doing with my life? It felt like I was living in a fog, where everything seemed muted and grey. I would scroll through social media, seeing others chasing their dreams and thriving, while I felt stuck in a loop of confusion. Their excitement only amplified my sense of inadequacy, making me question whether I was even on the right path. I knew I had potential, but I couldn't pinpoint what would ignite that spark. Sometimes I'd try to engage in activities I once loved, painting, hiking, even cooking, but they felt like chores. I realized that without a sense of purpose, everything lost its flavor. It was as if I was going through the motions without truly being present. I wanted to feel alive again, to have a reason to jump out of bed in the morning. But the harder I tried to find that reason, the more elusive it became. The lack of direction was suffocating, and I often felt like I was running in circles. I sought advice from friends, thinking they might have the answers for me that I couldn't find on my own. They would offer words of encouragement, suggesting I take time to reflect or try new things. But deep down, I knew that this wasn't just about trying new hobbies. It was about reconnecting with what truly mattered to me. I had to dig deep, peeling back the layers of societal expectations and self-doubt to uncover what I truly valued. Eventually, I realized that finding my purpose wouldn't happen overnight. It was a journey, a process of exploration that required patience and self-compassion. I began to take small steps, allowing myself the grace to stumble and learn along the way. The more I embraced this journey, the more I started to feel a sense of clarity emerging from the chaos. It was a reminder that it's okay to not have all the answers right now. Superficial relationships. I've come to understand that my relationships were another area where I felt a profound disconnect. On the surface, everything seemed fine. I had acquaintances and friends I could chat with at parties or online. But when I really thought about it, I realized these connections were often shallow, lacking the depth that truly nourishes the soul. I would engage in small talk, but the real conversations, the ones that matter, seem to be missing. It's strange how easy it is to fill your life with people, but still feel utterly alone. I would scroll through my contacts, and while there were plenty of names, I struggled to think of anyone I could turn to in a moment of crisis. The fear of vulnerability often held me back. I worried that if I opened up, I might scare people away or worse, be judged. So, I kept things light and breezy, avoiding the deeper discussions that could foster real intimacy. In some ways, I think I was also afraid of disappointment. I had experienced moments where I thought I was forming a genuine connection, only to find out later that the other person wasn't on the same page. It stuck. So, I became a master at keeping things at arm's length. I laughed along with jokes and participated in group activities, but inside, I felt a gnawing emptiness. The irony is that I longed for deeper connections even as I pushed people away. Looking back, I realized that I was missing the critical component of vulnerability. Authentic relationships require a willingness to expose oneself, to share fears and dreams, and to let others in. But breaking down those walls was challenging. It took time to understand that real connection often comes with risk, and that it's okay to be imperfect. I had to learn to embrace my own flaws and accept that others would have theirs too. As I began to let my guard down a little, I found that some people responded positively. It was as if my openness invited them to share their own struggles and stories. I started to feel the warmth of friendship blossom in places I had once deemed too risky. Slowly, I learned that meaningful relationships aren't built on perfection or constant positivity. They thrive on authenticity, empathy, and the courage to be real with one another. Have you ever woken up in a cold sweat, your heart racing, trying to shake off a nightmare that felt all too real? I certainly have. Those dreams often linger, haunting me with their vivid imagery and unsettling emotions. It's like my subconscious has a way of bringing up unresolved conflicts or feelings I've tucked away deep inside. It's almost as if my mind is screaming for attention, urging me to confront what I've been avoiding in my waking life. Sometimes, I find myself wondering if these dreams are simply a product of my overactive imagination or if they hold deeper meanings that I've yet to uncover. I remember one particularly disturbing dream where I was trapped in a maze, desperately searching for a way out but only encountering walls and dead ends. Upon waking, I couldn't help but feel that this dream mirrored my life at the time. I was feeling lost, both in my personal and professional endeavors. Those dreams seemed to echo my internal struggle, highlighting the conflicts I hadn't addressed. It's fascinating how our minds can articulate our fears and frustrations through the symbolism of dreams, isn't it? Sometimes these nocturnal narratives can be a wake-up call to confront the issues we've buried beneath the surface. As the dreams kept recurring, I began to pay closer attention to the emotions that accompanied them. Fear, anxiety, and a sense of isolation were always present, reflecting my waking life. Each dream felt like a piece of a puzzle, revealing aspects of myself that I had chosen to ignore. I realized that those dreams were not just random images, but an opportunity for self-reflection. They prompted me to ask questions about what I was truly feeling and what unresolved issues were lurking in the shadows of my mind. In a way, these nightmares became a catalyst for change. I started journaling about them, trying to decode the messages they were conveying. This practice allowed me to confront feelings I had been suppressing, whether it was about my career, relationships, or personal aspirations. The more I delved into understanding these dreams, the more clarity I gained about my life's direction. It was like shining a flashlight into the dark corners of my psyche, illuminating truths I had been afraid to face. Now, when I wake up from a particularly intense dream, instead of brushing it off, I take a moment to reflect. I ask myself what it might be trying to teach me and how I can take actionable steps towards resolving any lingering conflicts. This practice has not only helped me understand my dreams better, but has also contributed to my overall emotional well-being. It's a reminder that sometimes the key to understanding ourselves lies in the depths of our subconscious. Intuition ignored. There have been countless moments in my life when I felt an instinctive tug, a gut feeling urging me to take a different path or make a particular decision.
Yet, more often than not, I chose to ignore it. Perhaps it was fear of the unknown, or simply a desire to conform to external expectations that led me to silence my inner voice. Each time I disregarded that intuition, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was drifting further away from my true self. It's a curious phenomenon how we can become so accustomed to ignoring our instincts that we forget they even exist.
I recall a time when I was offered a job that seemed perfect on paper.
The salary was great, and the company had a stellar reputation. However, something felt off.
My intuition whispered that this opportunity wasn't right for me, but I brushed it aside, convincing myself that I should be grateful for the offer. As I settled into the job, my initial instincts proved correct. I was unhappy and unfulfilled. It was a painful reminder that ignoring my intuition often led me down paths that didn't resonate with my true self. Reflecting on those moments, I realized that my intuition has always been a guiding force, gently nudging me toward decisions that align with my values. When I choose to listen, I feel a sense of peace and assurance. However, when I ignore it, I find myself grappling with regret and disappointment. It's as if that inner voice is a compass, guiding me toward my authentic path. Learning to trust that voice has been a journey in itself, one that requires patience and self-compassion. I've begun to cultivate a practice of mindfulness, allowing me to tune into my intuition more effectively. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, or simply taking time to reflect, these practices have helped me reconnect with that inner voice. I've found that when I create space for stillness in my life, my instincts become clearer, and I can make decisions that resonate with my true self. It's an empowering feeling, knowing that I have the ability to navigate my life based on my own inner wisdom.
Ultimately, embracing my intuition is an ongoing journey.
There are still moments when doubt creeps in, tempting me to second-guess myself.
However, I've come to recognize that my intuition is a vital part of who I am. It serves as a reminder to honor my true self and make choices that align with my values. Trusting that inner voice has not only enhanced my decision-making, but has also fostered a deeper connection with myself. As we wrap up this exploration of Jung's urgent message, I want you to take a moment and reflect on what we've discussed. Have you noticed any of those signs in your own life? Maybe you've felt a nagging sense of disconnection or an overwhelming anxiety that just won't go away. These feelings can be more than just passing phases.
They might indicate that your soul is calling out for help.
Now, picture this. What if these signs are not just warnings, but invitations to dive deeper into your true self?
Imagine embracing this discomfort as a catalyst for transformation.
Are you ready to confront the shadows and uncover the light within? I challenge you to take a few moments today, breathe, meditate, or journal about your thoughts.
What has your soul been trying to tell you? And remember, you are not alone in this journey.
Share your experiences in the comments below. Have you faced a moment where you recognize these signs? Let's open up this dialogue together. Your story might just resonate with someone else who needs to hear it. Stay curious, stay resilient, and above all, stay connected to your soul's true essence.
What's your next step toward healing?
Let's find out together.